as we partied on in the new year and probably got up late on New Year's Day, took the cards down and the tree, and since then we have been getting on with our lives. Back to work and the children back to school. And we've been battling against the cold snap which we have now. As for Christmas, that's all been taken care of. All the Christmas tinsel and accessories safely wrapped in tissue paper until we go through it all again next year. But is it a case of that's that? Is Christmas all put back in the cupboard and forgotten about? Or is there something which we have forgotten? And of course it's true that not everyone has a happy Christmas. Some of us may find it a time when we miss friends and family who have died or moved away. And others may find large gatherings more of a strain than a joy. Most of us succeed in enjoying Christmas and the lovely story of the heart of it all. And it is a lovely story, right up to the last chapter. And then there's the story of the presentation of Christ in the temple, which is on Tuesday really, but we are doing it today. But the words of an old man, Simeon, rather change all that. When he turns to Mary and tells her that a sword may pierce her own soul too. How often have you seen Simeon and Anna on a Christmas card? Seldom, I suspect, if ever. Or their message is not quite the same as the rest of the Christmas story. Simeon, we are told, was upright and devout, as well as being eloquent. He was, shall we say, religiously aware. And when he looked at the baby Jesus, he saw him in a way rather different from the way we look at him in the crib. And on Christmas cards, Simeon, seeing the infant Jesus, was the moment at which he was able to make sense of his life, and perhaps to make sense of his death. When Simeon saw the baby, whose birth we celebrated Christmas, he saw the key to the religion which he had been practicing. He saw in flesh the fulfillment of the commitment he had long honoured. In short, the Christ child. I think the value of hearing again the story of Simeon is for us to be reminded how we need to view the Christ child. We need to view the Christ child in the fullness of what he is, what he really is, not just a romantic glamour in which he is dressed by us every Christmas. Simeon tells Mary that Jesus is destined for the fall and rising of many in Israel, and has a sign that will be rejected. In other words, Jesus is going to be the instrument of judgment, blessing and salvation. But he is not going to be popular with the people of Israel. Simeon warned Mary of the bitter piercing agony of the sword, which being that close to Jesus would entail. It wasn't much fun for Mary. We have to accept that it isn't going to be much fun for us. But it is part of being a Christian. It's part and parcel of being part of God's purpose. So it becomes inevitable that we look at Christ's child properly. If we see that in Jesus, the eternal Word of God, has come to earth as a human being, then we must risk having our own soul pierced too, and that choice is ours. We can look at the baby Jesus in amongst the Christmas cards and tinsel and leave the story there. In the wrapping paper of the crib figures, as we will do at the end of this service, or we could find in this tiny baby the clue of life and death, and the road on which we can share in purposes of God, even if the road is uncomfortable from time to time. Because we can be pierced by a sword, just as Simeon told Mary. As Simeon blessed the Holy Family, this awful prophecy, this demand that we understand fully what the Christ child brings for us. This isn't a curse. If it sounds like that, it is a blessing. Because a blessing does not mean the absence of pain or trouble. It means the presence of God around us and in us. And that is the real message of Simeon's prophecy. I pray that each one of us will know the fullness of that blessing as we journey through the year. Amen.